Welcome to the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I'm your host, Lyndsay Dowd. My goal is to help train leaders and sales organizations how to manage and deliver results with empathy, compassion, and kindness. Let's get started. Greetings and welcome to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. Very excited to bring you our guest today. Over the past 18 years, Joshua Lifrak has worked with elite athletes and corporate leaders to help them perform at their highest levels. He's also been instrumental in helping transform organizational cultures and individual mindsets to create an environment for optimal development and growth. He is currently the Director of Performance and Coaching for Limitless Minds, a health and wellness technology company founded by Denver Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson and world-renowned mental performance training and author of It Takes What It Takes, the late Trevor Moawad. He is also the president of Lift Up Consulting, and from 2014 to 2019, he worked in Major League Baseball, including 5 years as the director of the Mental Skills Program for the Chicago Cubs from 2014 to 2019, where he helped them win their first World Series in 108 years. From 2019 to 2021, he was the New York Mets Major League Mental Performance Coach. I had to chop this down. Josh, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Lyndsay? I was like, wow, I think maybe I should make that a little bit tighter.
Oh my God, I cut it down. I cut it down.
Both.
You bring so much to the show. So thank you for being on. So for the folks that don't know you, would you give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. So my background has been about 18 years in pro sports, 10 of which were at IMG Academy, which is where I worked with the aforementioned Trevor Moawad. He and I were there for 8 years together. He left, and then 2 years later, I left. But a really special, unique place. From there, I went to the Cubs, and then from there, I went to the Mets. My background is in sports psychology. So my degree is a master's of exercise science and sports sciences, but the emphasis is in sports psychology. So that's where I did all my work, is on the mental side of really performance.
Now, I know Limitless Minds, we talk a lot about mindset, and mindset is not something only for athletes, and that's where you came from. But, can we translate mindset and how important that is to business, and why leaders really need to embrace? Well, you tell me what leaders need to embrace in terms of mindset. I have my thoughts, but I want to hear from you.
So here's the thing about what we've seen in terms of mindset, and this comes from the sports world, can easily be applied to the corporate world. And there's really 4 areas of performance that you're looking at for anybody in any performance. And there's the 4 areas that you can train are your technical and your tactical, right? If we're talking about a sales team, it's like the technical is like really understanding the product and inside and out and all those types of things, understanding your clients, right? And then the tactics are all about how you get in front of the clients, what you're doing while you're in front of them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get trained on that a ton in the corporate. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah.
That's absolute technical tech. All right. The other 2 areas are your physical, right? Which is how much energy do you have? Yeah. What your diet is? Are you working out? On the corporate side, in the elite professional athlete world, that's your speed, your strength, your power, all those types of things, how far you can throw the ball, et cetera. And then there's the last component, which is the mental side. Now, the great sport organizations totally understand that that's a competitive advantage. Right. It's the same way in the corporate world. You're seeing it now more and more often. There's companies that are actually hiring inside of their organization sports psychology people, mental training, and they're giving it to their salespeople. They're giving it to the inside salespeople. They're giving it to their leadership. They're giving it to operations and marketing and the whole 9 yards. And they understand that if you can train your mind, you have a better chance of having a higher performance. You're not guaranteed. Trevor always used to talk about, I love this. Trevor always used to say, hey, you can attack all 4 of those aspects and you can be great in all 4 of them, right? And it does not guarantee success.
No.
All it does is it guarantees that you have more lottery tickets in your attempt to have success.
Right.
So I kind of always like that. So, that's basically what you're doing. When you're training the mindset and you're training how you think and you're helping your people how to think, you have a better chance of having a higher performance.
I totally agree with that. And on this podcast, we've had so many athletes, whether they're world champion triathletes or professional athletes, retired athletes and Olympians. And so often we talk about, resilience, and we talk about having that mental fortitude to persevere through something really difficult. And this podcast is all about resilience and stories of resilience. So can you share a little bit of your story about resilience and how that's affected the way you see the world and the way you lead?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you're talking about specifically about specific athletes and stuff, I mean, the world of athletics is just littered with people who were, like, gee, let's just take Michael Jordan, for example. Like, it's so funny because I'm a big NBA fan. I'm watching a lot of the NBA, and they're talking about the Wembanyama coming in, right? And they're talking about this guy who's going to be the #1 draft pick, 7'5" out of France. And he's tall and he's skinny. And a lot of times, big, tall guys get hurt in the NBA because you're talking about 82 games versus like 50 or 60 in European leagues. Guys are bigger, stronger, faster, all that kind of stuff. So they're talking about, and they're worried about, well, he could flame out, he could be injured, da, da, da. And nobody remembers this. But in Michael Jordan's second year, he didn't play the whole season. He only played like 15 games because he had broken his foot. It didn't stop him. He just kept going, right? He got better, and he used that time to persevere and become an awesome player. I think about that in terms of, there was a guy named Kyle Schwarber who was on our Cubs team that won the World Series in 2016. Well, Kyle is a unbelievable human being. First of all, I've had the opportunity to spend some time with him. He's just an unbelievable dude. And in like the third game of the year in 2016, he was in the outfield, and he's going for a fly ball, and he collides with the center fielder, and he destroyed his knee. ACL, MCL, done for the season. No chance. Sad. Da 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 da. Could have been a really good player, but oh wow. Well, that's not the way Kyle took it. He kind of bared down, and he got to work on his rehab. Like, he attacked his rehab like no other. He asked to stay with the major league team. He said, I don't want to go to Arizona. Let me stay with the major league team, because now I can start studying all the pitchers. I can get all the scouting reports. I can learn how to be a better player. And not only that, I can be a great teammate to my guys and help them understand and see what else is going on out there. Keeps doing his rehab, keeps doing his rehab, keeps doing his rehab. We get to the World Series, right? We get to the World Series. So we're playing now into October, November. And out of nowhere, the doc's like, hey, Kyle can hit. Like, he can't run. He can't play defense, but we're playing American League teams. And if we need a DH, we think it could be Kyle. So Kyle goes to Arizona for a couple of weeks, actually, like literally like 5 or 6 days. And he sees thousands of pitches off of a pitching machine, just seeing them, getting a swing down. And sure enough, he comes back. He comes back for the World Series. He hits a key hit, and I think it was game 2, gets us a win there, or maybe it was game 5. I can't remember. But he ends up, being a key. Oh, it was game 6. Game 6 ends up being a key component. Starts the rally that wins us the 7th game of the World Series. But we talk about resilience. It really boiled down to this: the kid never felt sorry for himself. Right? And I think when you talk about resilience, it all boils down to this: we are going to have challenges in our life. They are going to occur. Prerequisite for living. Enjoy. The whole key about it is this: is what do we do with that when it comes to us? What's the story we make up about it? How do we decide how we're going to do it? Kyle really quickly got into action.
Yeah.
So this is where I am. I'm not going to sulk. I'm not going to be sad. As a matter of fact, I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to get to action to fix myself the fastest I possibly can. So maybe there's a chance. And so that's an interesting story of resilience that many people might know. But a lot of people in Chicago know that one. He's called the Schwarbino on there. He's kind of a legend in Chicago. But Kyle, for himself, it was all about his mentality going into that. Never once felt sorry for himself. Never once got down on himself. Just showed up every day, put the hard hat on, and got to work.
Yeah,
that's resilience in a lot of ways.
I love that. And I always say it's not how you fall down, it's how you get back up. And that getting back up is the inspiration for greatness from so many people, and certainly many people on this podcast. So tell me, what is a mental skills program? What's involved in that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of tools and techniques that you can use to kind of get out of your own way, right? It's funny. I'm going to show you guys this. This is the Buddhist god of called Ganesh, and I like Ganesh, and I used to have a big poster of Ganesh on my wall in my office in Arizona when I worked for the Cubs. And Ganesh is the god of removing obstacles, and oftentimes the biggest obstacle we have for performance is Ourselves.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Our own mind, ourselves.
Can't get out of our own way.
So what these tools do is they take away a lot of the mental skills program tools. The outcome is they allow us to deal with self-doubt, being unfocused, being nervous, anxiety, all that stuff, and using different tools to harness that energy and put it towards our performance. So we have a little bit more to give. A lot of the tools are not that sophisticated. I mean, there's nothing like revolutionary here, but really it's like how you talk to yourself, how you go about like setting goals and staying focused on them and achieving them. Do you have a good routine for when you do get distracted to get yourself back in order? Do you have a good pregame routine to help you kind of get ready to be ready? A lot of times that involves meditation or visualization or just going over scouting reports or journaling, right? And then how do you process what's going on in the moment? And then how do you process what happened afterwards to use that to get better? I mean, that's the simplest way to try to talk about a mental skills performance is doing everything before, during, and after in your mind to get the absolute most out of your performance.
And I love that this is a practice in Major League sports. And
yeah.
Part of the reason is, I'm all about transforming leadership as we know it. And I think it is on our leaders. They have to start embracing what I call power skills, and other people call them soft skills or EQ. Okay. And it's a different way of leading. It's a human way of leading. And, incorporating meditation and journaling was never associated with major league athletes. And now it is like a known practice. It's a way to fortify your mind and gain clarity. I just love that that's a thing. And it's such a good teaching metaphor for leaders in business.
Yeah. And that's the question I would have for you is like, how often are leaders actually applying the things I'm talking about for their own performances? And so, and exactly, right. And so that's what's really interesting is the greatest leaders I've been around, right? They've absolutely done those kinds of things. I remember Joe Madden, who was the manager of the Tampa Bay Rays first, did great things with them. And then he was with us at the Cubs. They finished with the Angels. Now he kind of retired from baseball, but he would meditate every day. He would do that, right? So here's your manager doing it.
Yeah.
What do you think the guys are going to do? They're probably going to do it too, right? And he would take that time and he recognized the power of self-reflection. Mm-hmm. He recognized the power of feedback for himself and for others. He recognized understanding somebody at a whole human level versus just a performer level. And he really dove into them and understood them and knew what buttons to push and knew how to talk to guys and who to put an arm around and who to be a little firm with and who to, hey, maybe you should go talk to Josh or Ken or whoever, right? Like he was great with that stuff. He was amazing. Mm-hmm. And that's where you see a lot of leaders, they sometimes just get attached to the spreadsheet and the outcomes. And I think there could be a lot of danger in success. Now, let me kind of
keep going. I love it.
Roll that back. Success can hide a lot of maladies. Success can hide a lot of areas for growth and improvement.
Agreed.
And we talk about winning a lot in the sports world and in the corporate world. What we don't talk a lot about is thriving. And there's a difference.
Yes.
There's a difference between both of those because one is about the whole person. One is about everything inside and outside. And one's just about right here, right now in the performance. And so what we strive for, certainly at Limitless Minds, is to help people thrive, not only in business, but in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge difference because then it's not transactional, it's transformational.
Oh, you took my next question, which was talking about thriving. So I love that you did that. And you hit on so many of the things that I find to be so important. So, and with Madden, the coach who was in touch with himself and was meditating, how motivated did it make the team? Did they respond really well to him versus, the ones who live by the spreadsheet or the dollar? Because I've certainly seen this in business. So I love to illustrate these points for the audience, but tell me how they responded to him.
Well, I'm going to roll back a second because one of the things that Joe did that was really amazing too, was he was able to really just make the main thing. Okay. So that's a big thing sometimes for people to recognize, is that he didn't care about these stupid antiquated rules that you had to follow. So I remember the first day the entire team met him. I had met him a couple of times. We hired him in 2015. It's in Arizona. We're at spring training, and it's the first meeting ever with the entire team, and they're all there. And Joe's like, "Hey, you guys don't know me that well, but number one, I trust you, right? And I know I have to earn your trust. Right? I have to earn your trust, but I trust you implicitly. Okay. There's a couple rules that I really want to just get out there. Now, hold on a second. For those of you not in the baseball culture, the rules day talk by the manager is usually like all this mundane junk about, what you got to wear on the plane, about, what's tolerable, what's not tolerable, about, how we run, like all these just like this stuff. It's just, and nobody hears any of it. It's just so the person can say it. Joe gets out there and he goes, okay, number one, we got to talk about the plane and what to wear on. Guys, if you look hot, wear it. That's it. That's the only rule. Number two, just be on time. Okay, let's get to work. And it was just that simple, right? Because he was like, that's not the stuff that's super important. What's super important is what we're going to do on the field right now, is how we're going to go about our business on a daily basis. And you're going to show me that through the actions that you're going to have right here, right now in the field. Us talking about them, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is who you are and who you're being in the next 5 minutes. And let's just go start dealing with that. And the guys loved it. They were just like, that's awesome. We don't have to deal with that crap. Beautiful. Okay, let's just get to work. And then they were able to get to work and they were highly motivated. It was great.
You hit one of my favorite words, which is trust. And when you're a leader and you give your people the space to do the jobs they were hired for, and you let them know that you trust them, you're in a position to create best practices, innovation, risk-taking, collaboration, friendly competition, like all the good things come from trust. And culture also comes from trust. So when you don't have that, good luck. You got nothing.
So let me ask you this, Lyndsay. I'm going to curious about your questions. How do you see people fostering that? Like the great leaders that you've worked with, how have fostered trust and how have they brought that to the surface?
So the first thing is you have to know your people, and don't make the foolish mistake of expecting great things from your people without investing in them. And by investing in them, I kind of mean have those regular check-ins, ask them about their partner, ask them about their life, and remember what they say. And if your memory doesn't work, take notes. So when you're ready to have that next conversation, you're not bumbling on their partner's name. It shows that you care. It shows that you're interested. And, good culture comes from the top, but it's owned by everybody. So people will model what they see. So if you're a flaming asshole and you're abusive to the people around you, they're going to think that's what's acceptable and that's what's normal. And if you are a generous leader and you share the spotlight and you're kind to people, that's the behavior that they're going to model. Trust is built on the latter, not on the former. And as soon as you embarrass someone or belittle someone or berate them in front of others, trust is fractured. It's gone. So you can destroy it very quickly. But it's so important to build it. And if you screw up, own it. Say why you screwed up. Say you're going to do better the next time. You need their help and their feedback, but you're human. And people
that was going to be my next question. How much does competency play into trust? So, right, because it was interesting because Joe had this resume of being highly successful in this organization in Tampa, which is notorious, like they don't spend a ton of money. So they develop and they make the most out of the players that they have. Yeah. And he came from that organization and had actually taken them to the World Series. Had been like super, actually, maybe did he take him to he did take him to the World Series. So, he was like super successful there with very limited resources. Now he's coming to Chicago and he's got all these resources that he could imagine. Yeah. And, he's like a kid in the candy store, but he was still himself and he was really, really great. But he had that kind of resume of competency. So how do you kind of marry that, like making mistakes, but still competent?
So the first thing that I always said, the first thing that I always said when I was leading big teams is, hey guys, I am not the smartest person in the room. That's why I have you. So we're in this together, and I'm going to be asking you and leaning on you for things that I don't fully understand. I'm new to this role. you guys have been here longer than I have. You're going to teach me things. When you come from that place of being humble and, hey, newsflash, nobody has all the answers. I don't care how skilled you are. When you're coming into a new job, you don't know the politics. You don't know all the rules. You know some. You've researched your craft, but there's always new things you have to learn. And hey, if you do know everything, you're way overqualified. So, I always kind of left it to everybody to say, I don't have all the answers. That's why you're here. We're in this together. Let's build this together. It gave people a sense of ownership. It gave them a sense of pride for our successes. And it also let them know that, no, I don't think I know everything. So it was a disarming way to lead. And I think people appreciated it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
It worked.
I was just kind of curious about that because I've seen it like certainly in the sports world where you have somebody who's in over their head.
Yeah.
Right. Who's whatever
thrust
into leadership because there was an unexpected vacancy. Right. And so they, let's put them up there. Yeah. And now they're in over their head. And instead of doing what you just did, it's like, hey, we're going to work on this together, gang. They were more like
winging it.
trying to fake it to make it. Right. Like we do that all the time. So it almost sounds like, Lyndsay, what you're saying is don't fake it to make it.
You can do it a little bit. And I think everybody has to do it to some degree. But I think when you kind of just lay it out there and say, hey, guys, I'm new. I can't possibly know everything. You're going to know things and guide me on things that I've never seen before or never done before. And I'm going to appreciate that. So if you catch me doing something stupid, please come and tell me. And let's build this together. It's so much more of a collaborative approach and it works.
Those vulnerability too, right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Right?
And we talk about that a lot, being vulnerable, being authentic. It's such an important leadership skill. And I call it a skill. It's not a happenstance. I'm going to stumble into something and oops, I screwed up. It's not it.
Yeah. It's interesting. You said skills can be trained, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Goes back to our earlier question about, what is mental skills? Yeah. It's just that it's areas that you can train to enhance.
Well, leaders can be trained. Leaders are built. Didn't come out of the womb, leading an organization of 85 people. You had to learn it. You had to model it. You had to, climb up the ranks to get the wherewithal to be able to take a role like that. So yeah, everything is taught. There are some innate human skills that make some better than others, but I do think there's a lot of skills that can be taught. So let's talk about Limitless Minds a little bit. Tell everybody, what is it? What do we do with it? Who hires you?
Yeah. So Limitless Minds, we are a company that was founded by Trev, who we mentioned already, Russell Wilson, who was he and Russ were like this, they're best friends. Russell's brother, Harry Wilson, and then Harry's really good friend, DJ Eidson. And DJ and Harry came from the world of pharmaceutical sales. And they spent some time around Trev and Russ, and they were like, hey, this stuff, we never get it. We never get this training in pharma. We would love to maybe democratize this training that is being given to athletes to help them perform at their highest levels to corporations. So they started it in 2018, I believe. And at that time, it was literally like Trev coming in, doing some trainings and, rolling on to the next training, et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward now to 2023. And we are now a company of transformation. And what that is we'll go in and we'll work with any company really, but mostly we have 9 of the top 12 pharma companies in the world that we work with, as well as some financial institutions, as well as some startup tech company type things as well. But what we'll typically do is we'll go through basically a training of mindset and all the principles and tools of mindset that can enhance your performance. That occurs over a 12-month period versus, okay, one keynote session, deuces, see you later. Right? That transaction stuff, we know that works for a little bit. It can be motivating, but ultimately it's not helping people transform their lives and get into Thrive. So in addition to that, we've created a mobile application that you can use in order to enhance your training in between our trainings. We do them month to month. So that's who we are. We have a battery of 13 coaches right now. Our coaches are called room tilters.
Yes, I love that.
It's because when they walk in a room, the room tilts.
Yeah.
And so that's, they're impact people. There's everybody from people that worked with the U.S. men's national team to former professional athletes to top sales executives to, former principals of high schools and school districts to former military folks. So we run the whole gamut. And obviously we have a bunch of people who work in sports too. So.
Yeah. And you do a lot of lives. Yeah. Like how many a week?
We do 5 a week, unless there's a holiday. Like next week, we'll do one on Monday because we're going to Memorial it. But yeah, we'll do that every day, 12:30 Eastern time or 9:30 Pacific time. You were just on one. You were amazing.
Yeah, I loved it.
Blew our hair back a little bit, which was super fun. Not a surprise. Yeah, so that's what we do.
I love it. Yeah, it's so great. So Josh, tell us what inspires you.
So what inspires me is, I think, caring and kindness. So I'm just thinking back to like what brings tears to my eyes.
Yes.
Right? Then when you're touched, moved, and inspired, that's a typical reaction, right? You're gonna feel it on a deep level. For me, I cry, like happy tears. There's the meme of happy tears, like, oh, happy tears. That's me. So what really moves me and touches me and inspires me, I don't have the right word for this, so I'm just going to use the word love. And what I mean by that is kindness and taking care of each other and lifting each other up. That's the name of my consulting company, right? Lift Up. And this like empowerment and this growth and this like shedding of the cocoon, right? Like those types of things, they blow me away. Like you watch like any, like, I don't know, like TV commercials make me cry when you see stuff, when you see acts of kindness in there. That's the stuff that truly inspires me. And I firmly believe what we teach at Limitless Minds and what I work with at Lift Up Consulting in terms of these mindset principles, again, what is it? It's this guy, right? It's the God of removing obstacles. And when we remove those obstacles, those barriers, those defense mechanisms, those protective things that we have inside of us all the time, when you strip that away, you're going to get people that really take care of each other, that are really kind to each other, and that really love each other. And once we get into that, guess what? We're going to have a change in society. We're going to have a change in our world. And that's really what inspires me. So when I started working with the Cubs, our goal wasn't to win the World Series. It was to change the world. We won that first world championship in 108 years. And then there was, 5 million people at the parade. It's the 7th largest gathering in human history. And those 5 million people now knew that if you believed in yourself, if you believe in a process, if you do the right things, anything is possible.
I love that. I love that. What would you like your legacy to be? Authentic,
kind, caring, real. I think that would be a great legacy. Somebody who took care of others,
Well, you're doing all of those things. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Appreciate
How do people find you, Josh?
There's a couple ways. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the easiest way to grab me. Joshua Lifrak. It's just my name on there. I do have a website, joshualifrak.com, and it's not great. It's just a website. And then I also have, like I said, Instagram, and then obviously through Limitless Minds too. I think that's probably the easiest way is just go on limitlessminds.com, and there's a ton of ways to get in touch with us through that.
Well, you have shared so much knowledge. I love your perspective on things. Thank you for being such a wonderful guest. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, Lyndsay, thank you so much. I'm super happy to be on and come back anytime. I'd love it. And we got to get you on another live soon too.
Yes, I would love it. I would love it. Thanks, Josh. Awesome. You're the best.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. Take care. Thanks for listening to Heartbeat for Hire. If you like what you hear, I'd love it if you'd subscribe and leave a 5-star review. To keep the conversation going, you can find me on Insta or at LinkedIn at Lyndsay Dowd, H4H. Or you can reach me at my website, heartbeatforhire.com. Thanks so much. Have a great day.